Hey guys, what's up? Welcome to the cult. Welcome to Queer Marxism Week. A week where we are going to be doing lots and lots of deep dives into queer Marxism. Now, of course, if you are new to my channel, or maybe if you're not even new, queer Marxism has been a staple on my channel for a while. We've done a lot of I think I've actually covered more queer Marxism content than anyone else on the internet. If you think you know someone who has covered more queer Marxism content than me, let me know who they are, because I would like to talk to them. But really, I've done hundreds and hundreds of hours covering queer Marxist content over the past couple of years. But like, there's just so much to dig into, and honestly, I'm so sick of the Palestinian stuff. I'm so sick of it. I know that the left is really into Palestine right now, but that doesn't mean that that gender ideology is slowing down. That doesn't mean the attacks on parental rights are slowing down. And there's just so the real challenge with queer Marxism is that, how do I put this? Well, why am I even trying to be diplomatic? No one really understands what it is, and the people who are the so-called experts in queer are bullshitting their audiences. James Lindsay's lying to people. Logan Lansing is lying to people. That Beneath Sheep's Clothing movie is lying to people. It's like they're all fucking lying to people. They're all fucking lying to people, and none of them actually understand what it is. And it is a maddening thing to be on this side of things. And the reason that I know they're lying to people, and my opponents say, Carlin, aren't you just making that up because you're jealous? No, I'm not making that up. I'm saying that because I have watched hundreds of hours of this shit. Things that James Lindsay has never watched. Things that Logan Lansing has never watched. And I know what they're saying. And I know what they're doing. And I know what their documents say. Like, this is not a matter of opinion. This is a matter of there is information in the world that I have seen, that I have processed, that is being completely ignored by conservative influencers who are lying to their audiences, and then their audiences come to me and they're completely misinformed. We just saw this earlier in the day. Today. Because earlier today I did a little experiment, and this is something that I wanted to record for a podcast that I want to put on my Substack. But I did a little experiment, and guys, if you're not following me on Twitter, please make sure you're following me on Twitter. I'm Dr. Carlin B on Twitter. Right now, I am shadow banned on Twitter, and so it's hard to find me, but if you just go directly to the link to my profile, which is twitter.com, x.com/Dr. DrKarlynB, you will be able to find me, because I'm starting to try to utilize Twitter Spaces, because what I realized with Twitter Spaces, again, this is an issue of just absolute absurdity. Hang on, I have a better... Whoop. Oh, that's not exactly what I thought would happen. Hang on, let me adjust this. Let me adjust this to make it bigger so you guys can actually see what I'm talking about. Oh no, I don't think I can. Oh no. We're gonna have to cancel that. Cancel discard changes. See, I was trying to be fancy for you guys. I was trying my level best to be fancy, and it didn't work. Which let's just go with that one. All right, let's go with that. Anyway. Yeah, well, this is what I'm saying. I am aware that I'm shadow banned, and that's why you need to follow the explicit instructions that I just gave you. Guys, can we please turn on our listening ears today? Can you please just listen to the instructions that I'm giving you and follow the explicit instructions that I'm giving you and not deviate from those instructions? I am not telling you to go to Twitter and to search for my name. I am not telling you to go to Twitter to put my handle in the search. I am telling you to go to x.com/Dr. Carlin B. I mean, I just don't know. I don't know how much more explicit I can make it. And the reason that you want to go and follow me on Twitter and make sure you have notifications turned on Twitter is I am starting to utilize Twitter Spaces more. Today I did a little experiment where I did a read of the Mary Nardini's Gang's Towards the Queerest Insurrection, which we've covered on the channel before, and I know people had already heard, but quite frankly, I wanted to read it again. I wanted to do an audio analysis of it. I wanted new people to be able to have access to it if they weren't around the first time we did Towards the Queerest Insurrection. Obviously, I've had more time to process the information in this document now, so I feel like I understand it better. And what I really want to do is I want to encourage people to get active in these spaces. I don't actually want this to be, today no one wanted to come up and talk to me, which is fine, I guess. But like, what I would like is for people to start joining and having conversations about this stuff and giving their perspective on this stuff. And I don't want it to just be the same old people over and over and over again. No offense to the same old people, because I appreciate you guys doing it, but I want new people to get in and have conversations about this stuff and discuss it. And that's the only way we're going to be able to teach people. So I did a little experiment today where I did a Twitter space reading this, and I broadcasted it on my YouTube channel just to have like a backup recording of it. I'm going to put that in a podcast. So that is an example of the type of content that I want to be covering. And this is something that I had started doing several months ago, kind of got out of it because we got distracted with other things. Yeah. So that's one of the things we're going to be doing. Ronnie says, I came from James Lindsay's audience. I'm very deeply sorry, Ronnie. And I found that conversation with the friends of James. Ronnie, like, listen, like, well, first of all, everyone welcome Ronnie to the community. Ronnie, I am very sorry that I might have to break your heart when it comes to James Lindsay, and I'm very, very sorry. It's not my fault, it's his. But I hope you keep an open mind, because I will show you primary source evidence that James has never accessed and never looked at and has never shown you. and you can judge for yourself what you think it means. We're going to be doing a whole week of this stuff, so I hope you stick around and you learn what queer theory and queer Marxism actually is, beyond the bullshit. No. James does not have a very high IQ, Ronnie. No. That's not gonna. No. And if this is Murphy's Pool and you're fucking around, I'm not appreciative of it. Okay, seriously. We're not going to do that anymore. I'm being serious. Yup, because James is a lying grifter. He is. Yup. Hey, average person, I haven't seen you in a while. Welcome back. All right, so we did this experiment today, guys, and I do anticipate doing more experiments like this. Yeah, okay. So this is not real, and I don't appreciate this. I don't fucking appreciate this. I have asked it to stop several times. I don't want it around, so now we're gonna ban that account. That's not real. That's someone being a troll, and I've asked this person to stop doing this on several occasions, and I don't like it, and I want it to stop because it's a distraction and it's not useful. All right, so please stop. All right, so make sure you're following me on Twitter. Make sure you've got notifications set because I don't have a set schedule for when I'm going to be doing these Twitter spaces. I'm going to do them when I have time, when I feel like doing them. And we're going to work our way through some content. And I really do hope that people come up and talk to me as we're doing this and don't just sit back or troll or do whatever the fuck, because that's actually not very useful. So guys, please get involved. And if you want to download the document Towards This Queerest Insurrection, you can find it in the Anarchist Library. I will be putting it on the Substack a little bit later today, but it is available now, so you can find it there if you would like. Average person, thank you for the super chat. I took a hiatus because I wanted to pretend everything was fine. I was getting the big sad. Yeah, that happens. That definitely does happen, and I'm sorry about that. But you know what? Welcome back. You know, we can all cope together. Are you talking about on Twitter or on YouTube? Because I'm shadow banned right now on Twitter, guys, so I don't really know what to say. I can't control it. They shadow banned me for covering the Nashville Shooter Manifesto. I can't do anything about it. Tag Elon Musk. I've been tweeting today. Tag Elon Musk. Tag Twitter. Tag support. Like, you guys can reply and tag these people. I can't do anything. If no one wants to speak up and say, what the fuck, why are you shadow banning Carlin? There's literally nothing I can do about it. So if you want it to change, your very best bet is to tag Elon Musk, tag Premium, tag support, tag any account you can think of. And if you aren't going to do that, then there's nothing I can fucking do. So go over to Twitter. Like, go fucking raise hell on Twitter. There is literally nothing that I can do about it. I'm pretty caught up with what's been going on with the Groypers, James Lindsay, the Purge, and CPUSL and the Communist Party USA. Yeah, there's that. Anyway, what we're going to be doing this week is something that I think is kind of... Whoa! Why is that image so big? That's not meant to be that big. There we go. That's better. What we're going to be doing this week is Queer Marxism Week, guys. I've got a whole laundry list of queer Marxist content planned. And so if you've never accessed this stuff before, heard this stuff before, we're going to throw you in to the deep end this week. Today, we are going to be doing about a 40-minute podcast. This is audio only, with Emmy O'Brien. Emmy O'Brien is a queer anarcho-communist, abolish the family activist. And we're going to be listening to her talk about queer Marxism, the world we want to live in. And this is going to be based off her book, I think, which is called Everything to Everyone, which is a book I think we're going to be reading for book club. We're going to be doing a couple different presentations with her this week on this topic, because essentially this book is about the future queer Marxist socialist utopia. And so that's what it's about. And so, like, the more we listen to her talk about this, the more we're going to have an idea of what their vision for the world is. And that's going to help us extrapolate out what they're doing, why they're doing it, things like that. So that's what we're going to be doing today, but I do have a whole list of things. Now you'll notice one of those list of things is on Wednesday, September 11th. We've got a very special activity coming up, and you'll find out more about that if you head over to my Substack, which is Carlyn, KARLYN.com, and sign up there. Nick says follow Carlyn on Telegram. Those are the only notifications I get. Yep, the Telegram is t.me/unwokex. t.me/unwokex. And let me just get that link in the chat. Let me just get the link in the chat there. Make sure you follow on Telegram. Here it is. Yes, we are going to be covering the debate tomorrow as well. Thank you, Nick, for that super chat. Honest Dog Allison says, I love your new space live post live discussions. Yeah, hopefully it works out, and hopefully people come and participate, and hopefully we start reaching more people. I think that would be pretty great. So I appreciate the super chat there. Anyway, more importantly, and related to Honest Dog Allison, this Wednesday, we have a zine making workshop coming up. This is like a lot of people have asked me, what can I do to fight back against the left? What can I do? What can I do? What can I do? I want something to do. Well, okay, so we're going to give you something you can do. I want everyone to come and create Unwoke propaganda. And the way we're going to do that is we're going to take a concept that okay, like relax, okay? We're going to take a concept that queer Marxist activists use, which is zines. This is something that they appropriated from punk culture like several decades ago. Zines are basically kind of self-made DIY publications that are creative, that look cool. There are different varieties of like ways you can do these things that articulate a concept and that are used in the real world to recruit people to their cause. This is something that they've used for decades, and this is how they've been able to spread their message. Well, guess what? We are going to create our own version of zines. And we've already started doing this. Honest Dog Allison has started doing this. Gail has started doing this. Bots started doing this. Sin has created some. Like, we are creating different versions of this that link back to unwoke concepts that then we're going to go and put out in the world. We want to teach other people how to do this stuff. Anyone can do this. I know that this looks really cool and they might be a little intimidating for people because Honest Dog Al is a great artist. She's amazing. But your zines don't need to look like this. Anyone of any skill level can do this. You can utilize collaging. You can utilize different techniques where you don't actually have to draw anything. You can utilize AI art that can help. Like, there's all sorts of things you can do. What's going to happen on Wednesday, and this is going to be a workshop at 9 p.m. Eastern time, is that Honest Dog Allison is going to talk to you about what zines are and how to create them and her process for creating them to inspire you. Then we have a whole Unwoke zine project that's going to be going on, that already is going on in my supporter Discord, and we're going to invite everyone to come and join us. So you do have to be a supporter of my work to get access to the supporter Discord. So you do have to fund all of this in order to gain access to it. But again, that's like $8 a month. I don't think that is too high of a bar for anyone, especially if you're talking about creating this stuff, because you're going to need to get creative supplies anyway. And so it's kind of like just add it on top. It's the way it is. And I'm not going to open up my Discord to people who aren't supporters of my work. And so that's just going to be the way it is. People can have whatever feelings they want, but you do need to be a supporter of my work to get access to the Discord, where we do have the Unwoke Zine project where people can work together, brainstorm concepts, have fun. You guys can work together. Lots of different things to do, but please consider coming and joining for this workshop on Wednesday at 9 p.m. Eastern. You can register over on the Substack. If you cannot make it to the live show, register anyway, and you will get access to the recording. Once it's done, you'll just get an email with the recording. So that's how you sign up for that. It's completely free. We would like to invite anyone who wants to do something to come. And again, people kept asking me, what can I do, Carlyn? What can I do? What can I do? How can I fight back against the left? And I'm really reticent to give people things to do, because oftentimes the only thing I really want people to do is to learn the language of the left and to learn what the left is actually doing, learn how they define words, learn what's actually behind all these ideologies. And most of the time people don't want to do that. And so then I can't give them anything to do on top of that, because they're going to fundamentally fuck it up if they don't understand the left. But if you want something to do, We will teach you how to make propaganda, to push on woke messaging in a new and creative way. So no more whining, no more complaining, no more excuses. Everyone can do this. Everyone's welcome to sign up. And so come to the workshop and learn how to do it. The information to register is on the Substack, and you can find it there. All right. Last thing is I am trying to hit a goal of getting 100. Okay. If you ever put something like this in my chat again, you are going to get permanently banned. I don't know what mental health issues you have going on, bro. The only reason you haven't gotten banned so far is because you're a supporter of my work, and I understand that you're a supporter of my work, but I do not want that. Like, I don't know what the fuck you're doing here. I don't get what you're doing here. But do not ever, ever, ever put something like this in my chat again. The next time you do, you will be permanently banned, and I don't give a flying fuck what mental health issues you have going on. You're getting a timeout right now, and if you come back and you keep doing the same thing, we just won't hear from you anymore, and that's just going to be the way it is. Naruto, thank you for being a member of the channel. The RCA did a podcast recently tackling the question, is Trump a fascist? Yeah, I saw that. We might watch that at some point. I'm not sure we will, but we might watch it at some point. I appreciate that, Naruto. Yeah, well, yeah, I mean, but they're a supporter on my Substack, and I know that. And so I don't like banning people who are giving me money, but if those people are only giving me money to cause problems, then eventually I'm going to remove them because, quite frankly, $8 a month is not worth it. But speaking about $8 a month, I'm trying to get to 100 new paying supporters on my Substack this month, guys. And I got to be honest, we're starting to get behind. We made a good, we started off the month good. We were on track. We are starting to get behind. So I'd like everyone in the chat. 1 in the chat if you are a current supporter on my Substack. 2 in the chat if you are not yet a supporter on my Substack, and I'm not going to shame anyone or anything. I just want to get an idea. How many people in the chat are current supporters of my Substack? Number 1 in the chat if you're a current supporter on my Substack. 2 in the chat if you are not a current supporter. And I just want to get a sense of this because I might conceivably be talking to people who are already supporters on my Substack, which might be part of the problem. Right? Looks like pretty much everyone's a 1. Maybe the 2s are just, they don't want to admit it. They don't want me to yell at them or something. Okay, Nick Dev is a 2. So we got like 1, 2. See, this is where things get challenging, guys. This is where things get challenging. So what this tells me then is that we need to get new people here. Because everyone that comes here ends up supporting me on Substack at some point. The challenge is that there are certain financial realities in what I do. I am completely grassroots funded. What that means is if people don't donate to my work, if people don't support my work, eventually I'm not going to do it anymore. Now, I understand times are tough for a lot of people. Money is tight. I will tell you that over the weekend, just to give you guys some insight into this. Oh, like last week we got probably We probably got like 10 new supporters on my Substack last week. I lost 7 supporters on my Substack over the weekend. And that might be because of a variety of reasons. That might be because it was an annual membership and they didn't renew it. That might be because they don't like my content anymore and they've decided to move on. That might be because they support Israel and I don't support Israel and they're going to show me what's what by taking their support away. It might be any number of those things. But this is the battle that I am constantly fighting to keep this initiative alive. Okay. And so what I need is I appreciate everyone who's a supporter on my Substack. I really do appreciate it. I need to figure out ways to get new people into my work, and I need to figure out ways to get new people supporting my work to replace the people that leave. Because again, there's only so much I can do in terms of continuing to maintain the ship. I'm not going to change the way I go about making content. I make more content on this topic than anyone on the internet. I'm not going to be nice to people just to get them to support my work. If people don't see value in what I'm doing, they shouldn't be supporting it, but I'm not going to change myself for other people. What I do think is that we can find ways to get more people into my work. So quite frankly, if people want to see this stuff continue, the money's got to come from somewhere. The money comes from somewhere for the Daily Wire. The money comes from somewhere for the Blaze. The money comes from somewhere for Steven Crowder. The money comes from somewhere for Dave Rubin. The money comes from somewhere for Chris Rufo. The money comes from somewhere for Libs of TikTok. If I don't have the money coming from somewhere, I'm not going to be able to do this anymore. And so that's the reality that I'm dealing with. And I appreciate everyone who is financially supporting my work, but we need to meet goals. And this is a goal that I feel like is eminently achievable. My work reaches over 100,000 people on Substack alone every single month. I reach I think over 100,000 people on YouTube every single month. Like, I reach a lot of people. We should be able to meet these goals. And so, like I've said before, I will show up for you guys as long as you show up for me. And if people really believe this work is as valuable as they tell me it is, then we've all got to work together to get more people over to it. All right, average person, hey, thank you for the money. I do appreciate it. Super chats, of course, are also another way to support the work I'm doing, guys. I do prefer subscriptions to my Substack because, quite frankly, I make more money off of that. But if you want to send in super chats on YouTube, I do have a super chat goal that we do try to hit for streams, and I do really appreciate it. All right, with that said, let's dig into our presentation for today. As a reminder, we will be doing a supporter Zoom call at 7 p.m. tonight. People who are supporters on Substack and locals will have access to that call. So you can find over on Substack, you can find it in the Unwoke Roundup email. In the locals, I will be posting the link to that. So we'll be doing that. Mac B will be doing a movie night right after the call in the supporter Discord. So I definitely want to support Mac B in doing movie nights as well in the supporter Discord. I will say that like I might be doing a stream later as well. So people are gonna have to decide between movie night and my stream, and that's fine. But I might be doing something later. I also might not be doing something later. There's a bunch of stuff I want to do on the Substack, so that might be happening as well. Okay, it says, I was planning on gifting a sub at the end of the month. I have to wait for my credit card. Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. Listen, guys, no one needs to make excuses. And I've said this repeatedly. No one needs to make excuses about why they're not giving me more money. If you're already a supporter, I do appreciate it. What I would like is if people could share my content, get more people to watch my content, share my content with more of your friends. Like we need to bring, this is a numbers game. We need to bring more people in. That's what it is. Oh yeah. Hang on. I just knocked down a whole bunch of stuff. Hang on. Fuck me hard. You mean that? You mean that book right there? I already have that. I got that at the Socialism Conference. So yeah, I don't need anyone to tell me about that. Let me just pick up the stuff that just fell on the floor. Let me see. My mouse fell off the floor. Yeah, I've already got that book. I had to pull it out. I have a pile of books on my desk over here, and I just knocked a bunch of stuff down as I pulled it out. So yeah, I'm aware. All right, let's get into this, guys. We're going to be listening today to what are the graphics like? They look exactly how you think they look. They look like zines. They look exactly how you think they look. That's why I bought it. All right. We're going to get into our presentation for today. Everyone, please make sure you mount the like button for me. Mounting the like button lets YouTube know to actually recommend my content to more people, which would be pretty flippin' great. And we are watching, or we're listening to rather, this is a podcast with Emmy O'Brien. Emmy O'Brien is a queer narco-communist, abolish the family activist. And Emmy O'Brien is going to be discussing the world we want to live in and queer Marxism. This is about 47 minutes long, and we do need to be done by 7 p.m. tonight. So let's get this party started.
Here in this intro. without further ado, here's this week's random Life with Dogs anecdote. Didn't seem to be happening anytime soon. And then I read like things like the uninhabitable Earth, and I just felt like, well, like looking around, we're just all gonna die. But getting back to your books and a more positive note, they made me feel that maybe a different world may even be possible within our lifetime. And let's start with the title. Family Abolition is the main title, and Capitalism and the Communizing of Care is the subtitle. One quote that I wrote down from the book is, family abolition is a commitment to making the care necessary for human flourishing freely available throughout society. Rather than relying solely on one's intimate personal relationships, access to care should be built into the social fabric of our collective lives. Could you say a little more about this and why family abolition is so central to creating a juster world we would all be able to flourish in?
Sure. Yeah, of course, there are a lot of different ways of approaching that question. And one that is somewhat informed by the novel and that I developed throughout family abolition is thinking about what it would take to get to a free society, to a more just.
Hang on, I do see someone over on Kick. Darth Vader. I'm intrigued. Can you explain this further? Just got here. So I am reading the Kick chat now, Darth Vader. I apologize. I wasn't reading the Kick chat earlier because I had several other chats, but I am reading the Kick chat now. So if you can let me know what you would like me to explain further, I'm more than happy to do so. Hi, Julian. You and I are gonna have a little talk right now because I don't know what you're doing here. And I'm going to say this, and I'm going to call you out publicly for this because I'm fucking tired of the bullshit. I am tired of the passive-aggressive comments. I am tired of the willful ignorance. I am tired of going into my replies and going into my comments and seeing you in a very passive-aggressive, bitchy way doing backhanded insults against me. To say, well, Carlin, don't you know that James Lindsay agrees with you on this? When James Lindsay absolutely does not agree with me on this, and you know that, and I know you know that because you will follow up the comment saying, no, I know you say that this means X, Y, B, and Z, but I just don't agree. Well, you're not the teacher here. I'm the teacher here. And I'm tired of this shit, and it's been going on for a while, and I used to have you muted on Twitter because of that. And then you started to come around and you started not doing it anymore. And so I unmuted you on Twitter and I let it go. But you've recently backtracked into that. And so I want to be very, 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 very clear with you. And I will call you out publicly, and I will say this publicly because I am tired of seeing the passive-aggressive, bitchy, backhanded insults, because that's what you're doing. So what exactly are you doing here? Are you just here to amuse yourself? Is that what it is? Or are you here to actually do something productive? Because I don't know any reality in which you keep coming to my channel, you keep coming to my streams, and you don't understand the difference between what James Lindsay and I are doing. And I am tired of seeing you defend him in my comments when what you're doing is you're twisting what I'm saying to make it mean something it doesn't mean in order to do a backhanded passive-aggressive insult. So we'll wait for your reply, and I'll look forward to seeing what the fuck is going on.
Society, and that trying to theorize that, trying to see our present work and how we live in the moment and what we're fighting for in the moment in some sort of relation to the world that we want to live in, and a world that would support human flourishing and care for each other, and recognizing that this would require a really massive transformation of how things are produced and distributed. So sort of thinking about the economic, it would require a really profound transformation of how collective life is governed, the kind of decisions that we make together, and how we navigate conflict, how we administer society in many ways. So really a profound transformation of the state. And that family abolition is a way of theorizing what that transformation might look like on the register of our personal lives. so that the way that our lives are organized into relatively isolated private households as a really key site for where we get the care that we need to survive, how we manage gaps in being able to work, how we get the emotional support in a day-to-day way, that this form of the private household is really, particularly the nuclear family, is really relatively unique to capitalism and is a form that really lends itself to survival under capitalism.
All right. There's already a lot to unpack there. Hang on. I want to rewind this. So the whole basis of why, and guys, abolishing the nuclear family is a queer Marxist concept. For people who haven't heard or might be new to this concept, I will just, I'll explain it rather briefly. The reason that the left wants to abolish the nuclear family is not that they want people beholden to the state. It's not that they want people to see the state as their family. It's not any of those things. The reason the left wants to abolish the nuclear family is because they believe, well, there's two things. They believe that the specific argument that Emmy O'Brien is making is that the care that you receive in society, the health care you get, the mental health care you get, the care in old age that you get, whatever, the care that you get is dependent upon the private family that you are born into. All right. And so what that means is if you're born into a wealthy family, you're going to get a fundamentally different access of care than if you're born into a poor family. What do you think the channel's about? Kimby's come into my chat. What do you think the channel is about? This is an IQ test. What do you think the channel is about? So the whole premise is that if we abolish the nuclear family and we make everyone responsible for the care of everyone else, then everyone will have access to the resources they need, whether that be medical, like universal health care, or like mental health care, or things like that. And so that's part of one of the premises of it. The other premise is that the nuclear household is the literal means of reproduction of capitalism, which is defined as private property ownership. She said the nuclear household was the privatized institution, so that they view the nuclear household, the nuclear family, as a form of private property. And so that would be another reason they want to ban it, because they want to abolish all private property. And so that's what we're doing. Well, but that's not the question I asked you. The question that you came into my chat, you're a conservative. Can you maybe sit and listen? I don't know what to tell you, but what do you think this is? I mean, sit and listen, kick up your feet. Hey, thank you for supporting the Substack. I do appreciate it. Well, again, Julian, this is not reflected based on the backhanded passive-aggressive comments that I see you making. And this was not just one comment, girl. And you know this. You know this explicitly. You've been doing this for months and months and months and months and months. And I let it go, and I ignored it, and I didn't even block you or anything. I just muted you so I didn't have to see the passive-aggressive comments anymore. And then I think you wanted the attention from me, and you knew the only way you get attention from me is if you actually started doing the things that you should have been doing in the first place, which is talking about the content in a productive way rather than in a backhanded passive-aggressive way. But now we're reverting back to our old ways, and what I want you to hear is, you want attention from me, you're going to get it in the form of me reaming your ass out on stream, because I'm tired of seeing the backhanded passive-aggressive comments. I'm tired of it. I don't want to see it. I appreciate your support on the Substack. That's why you're not permanently banned. That's why you haven't been banned yet. Because you give me money on the Substack, which I appreciate. But again, $8 a month, $80 a year, it is not enough to pay for me seeing backhanded passive-aggressive insults in my comments every day. It's not worth it. It's not worth it. I want it to stop. And I think you're smart enough to understand what I'm talking about. All right, let's continue.
Make together, and how we navigate conflict, how we administer society in many ways. So really a profound transformation of the state, and that family abolition is a way of theorizing what that transformation might look like on the register of our personal lives. so that the way that our lives are organized into relatively isolated private households as a really key.
Our lives are organized into relatively isolated private households. That's an indication they perceive the private nuclear family to be a form of private property.
Site for where we get the care that we need.
A site, our family is a site for where we get the care that we need.
Survive, how we manage gaps in being able to work, how we get the emotional support in a day-to-day way, that this form of the private household is really, particularly the nuclear family, is really relatively unique to capitalism and is a form that
the nuclear family is unique to capitalism. That's what they believe. Again, guys, just if you're, in case you're new, capitalism is explicitly defined as private property ownership. We're not talking about crony capitalism. We're not talking about corrupt capitalism. We're not talking about any of the issues that you personally have about capitalism. We are talking about private property ownership. When socialists say private property, they mean your ability to own a home, your ability to own land, your ability to own an apartment rental, your ability to own a private business, your intellectual property, your parental rights, and your individual liberties. That's what she's talking about when she says the nuclear family is really relatively unique to capitalism, because what the left believes is the nuclear family would not exist without capitalism. They very literally think that that capitalism created the nuclear family by creating the gender binary, which put men in the workplace and women in the home, doing the unpaid labor of raising the next generation of proletarian workers. They believe that having and raising kids in a nuclear family is a way to resupply the workforce with new proletarian workers that the bourgeois capitalists can oppress. That's what they believe having kids is. They believe that the nuclear family is the means of reproduction of capitalism, because in producing the next generation of proletarian workers, it is inherently reproducing the capitalist system. That's why they're saying the nuclear family is relatively unique to capitalism. Does everyone understand that? Please let me know if you don't understand in the chat. Please ask questions. Would appreciate it. Yep, James Earl Jones died. Well, ask Jennifer if there's gonna be a movie night trivia. I don't control movie night, so go ask Jennifer. But yep, James Earl Jones died. It's very sad. But let's focus in on the content that we're actually here to learn.
It really lends itself to survival under capitalism. There are good reasons in a capitalist society where people are dependent on wage labor that everyone forms into nuclear families and does their best to stay in them. It's a strategy of survival in a quite hostile and difficult world. And that family abolition is imagining that the care that we need, that we find in families, as being really, as the quote you read indicated, as really being universally available and unconditionally available and spread throughout society, built into collective social institutions that we share. And within that, people could continue to form families. They might choose to partner or parent or all sorts of things. But in our society right now, forming a family has a very strong coercive element to it. No individual goes out and forces us to form a family most of the time, but the economic conditions of our world make surviving without a family very, very challenging. And for some people, simply impossible. And that a better world, a juster world, a world that we can fight for in the here and now, and potentially when reforms to move in that direction, would expand the support and availability for survival outside of the family, that then allows people to make more free and open and self-determined choices about how they want to live with people, how they want to love, how they want to care for each other. And issues like parenting and elder care and romance and all sorts of things that are currently organized within the family, that those being universally available would then allow the basis for a more free kind of intimate life.
Yeah, like I remember one of my favorite quotes from that book is, only if you're free to leave can you truly choose to stay.
Certainly something that I believe very strongly, and we see this all the time, that if people were in a romantic...
So what they're saying is that the only reason that people stay within the nuclear family structure in society is because the capitalist system forces them to stay within the nuclear family structure. And so what that means is that essentially, like, people they stay in the nuclear family structure because their literal survival depends on it. They won't be able to get health care if it's outside of the nuclear family structure. They won't have support if they lose a job if it's outside of the nuclear family structure. They won't have access to education or access to resources if it's outside of the nuclear family structure. And so the whole idea is that they believe that the nuclear family is a form of like a prison, essentially, that keeps people in this confined space. And they believe that if they get rid of the nuclear family, which means that they would abolish capitalism, because that's what their ultimate goal is. They want to abolish the nuclear family in order to abolish capitalism. They believe that if they do that, that is going to free people up to form these families of choice that are not based on a biological kinship. Let's see. I see people telling Kimberly that we don't debunk, but I didn't see what Kimberly actually asked. Hang on. I don't see what Kimberly actually asked. Oh. Okay, let's just continue.
Relationship, whether it's good or not, and there's an economic compulsion to stay. If leaving your partner would involve a significant drop in your well-being, your material well-being in the world, and this is just one dimension of this coercion. There are others centered around violence and social expectations and state policies, and migration policies are a huge one. But just the simple economic compulsion that leaving your partner, you might end up quite poor, or much poorer than you are. That's going to create the conditions where people are not going to think very hard about whether the relationship works for them or not, and where it takes really enormous adversity to motivate somebody to leave.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I feel like even just, as long as things are not terrible, it's usually easier to stay than to leave. And so many people make that choice.
Yeah. Exactly. And for some people, disabled people whose migration status depends on it, people who are aging and approaching death, children, people who are vulnerable to abuse in relationships, people that are in economically precarious circumstances, like all of these things can really intensify the compulsion that's already built into families under racial capitalism.
The other person cannot leave either if they are a decent human being, because they know that within the system, even if they would be fine, their previous partner would not. And you don't want to let that happen, even if you don't love them romantically anymore, wherever was the initial reason you formed that relationship. And that's really sad.
Yeah. I move between different registers of critique in the book, and one is this basic moral principle that how well we live and whether we have what we need should not be dependent on who we love.
Yeah.
That seems like a very straightforward concept that, when you think about it, for most people, it makes a tremendous amount of sense. And that principle would require a really massive transformation in how our society is organized. Who we love and who we happen to be related to is the way that I write about it. So who your parents happen to be should not determine your economic well-being in the world, your chances of survival, your chances of receiving the support you need for human flourishing.
Yeah, I mean, I grew up in a so-called social democracy in Austria, and then just having more and more contact with the US was already kind of shocking, because many things I'm taking for granted in a system that is all but perfect are just not happening in places like the US. I'm not sure the US is a democracy, but it's certainly nothing about it is socially minded. I continue being astonished at things that I just take for granted, like free education or healthcare for everyone, even if it is tied to a state, that's just not really a thing in the US. It's just wild to me. And also, sometimes you talk to someone from the US and they see a place like Austria, like a socialist country. And I'm like that is so far from being socialist. Like the anchoring point we start out from is just often so different. And so many things that Austria has, for example, and I left Austria because I wasn't happy there, they're not ideal, but they're already way better than things I see in other places outside of Austria. And that is depressing.
Yeah. My book's relationship to social democracy is somewhat complex that I think there's no question that many of the benefits of social democracy are things that should be widely available and have the capacity, the potential to significantly undermine the coercive imposition of families in people's lives, to expand the capacity.
Hang on, we have a question. Would same-sex marriage be in the crosshairs since same-sex marriage and monogamy is considered heteronormative and might be considered part of capitalism? Well, okay, so almost exactly correct. Almost exactly. And guys, this is something that was actually spoken to in the stream I did earlier today about towards a queerist insurrection. They speak to this specifically. So same-sex marriage and monogamy is actually considered to be homonormative, which is a slur that they use to define gay people as being, excuse me, they use it to define gay people that are basically assimilating to the culture of straight people. So they don't like it when gay people just get married and they want to settle down and have a family and kids and all that stuff. They call that homonormative because they're assimilating to heteronormative ideals. And yes, that is considered to be a part of capitalism. In fact, there is a specific line, and I'm just pulling up, let me just show you this. I wonder how this will display on the screen. I might have to change my screen for this. Oh, that's actually not too bad. It's not too bad. Let me find this. There's actually a specific there's a specific line in the towards the queerist insurrection. Here it is, right here. Bing. Let me just do this. Let me do this. That way that'll make that bigger. They say, if we genuinely want to make ruins of this totality, that means normativity. Totality means normativity. We need to make a break. We don't need inclusion into marriage, the military, the state. We need to end them. No more gay politicians, CEOs, and cops. We need to swiftly and immediately articulate a wide gulf between the politics of assimilation and the struggle for liberation. They're actually saying up here, and this is actually a really important paragraph in this document. We spent a lot of time on this today. The LGBT political establishment has become a force of assimilation, gentrification, capital, and state power. Gay identity has become both a marketable commodity and a device for withdrawal from the struggle of domination. Domination means capitalism. Now they don't critique marriage, military, or the state. They're flat out saying that if you participate in these institutions, you're assimilating to capitalism, and therefore you're not queer. And I promise you, the woman we're listening to, Emmy O'Brien, she's absolutely read this. She has 100% read this. There's no question about it. So that was a really great question. Yeah, this isn't, remember guys, being queer is not about being gay. Being queer is not about being trans. Being queer is a far left political ideology. Gay marriage and assimilating to normative ideals does not support the far left political ideology as the far left has defined it. Therefore, they're going to be against it. And they're flat out saying, do not assimilate into marriage. Do not assimilate into heteronormative ideals. Do not assimilate into homonormativity. They don't like it when people do that. Actually, I'm going to read one more thing. Hang on. We're going to do one more. I apologize because I just read this earlier, and so now it's top of mind for me. But there is actually one more line in this that's a great line on this specific topic, and I promise we'll move back to the other one. But SUVs. Where is it? Right there. Here it is. It's in the same paragraph. I just missed it. Here's what they say about people who about gay couples who engage in gay marriage. Assimilationists want nothing less than to construct the homosexual as normal, white, that means capitalist, monogamous, wealthy, 2.5 kids, SUVs with a white picket fence. This construction, of course, reproduces the stability of heterosexuality, whiteness, patriarchy, the gender binary, and capitalism itself. They're saying that when gay people assimilate into heteronormative values, they engage in gay marriage just to settle down and have kids and have the white picket fence and get an SUV and all that. They say they're upholding capitalistic ideals. Anyway, I promise I'll stop now, but I do hope that helps. Bro, this is retarded. This is retarded. This is You know, we just had a great question, and now we have a retarded response. I think what makes queer so annoying is how ugly they are and how untalented they are, and yet they are the ones that want to set the standards. Bro, those ugly, untalented people are kicking your ass. Those ugly, untalented people are so far ahead of you, it's not even funny. So what does that say about you? What does that say about you? That all those ugly, untalented people are just so far ahead of you and they're kicking your ass up and down the sidewalk, and they're not even trying that hard, and they're like, you're so bad at what you do that you're getting your ass kicked, and the only thing you have to say is, they're ugly, they're stupid, they're ugly, they're fat, they're untalented. Do you really think that's going to win? Do you really think that's going to solve anything? Do you really think that means anything to anyone at all? This is why the right is losing. This is why the left is winning. And this is why the right is losing. What do you make of people who seem to be embracing queer politics but are heavily influenced by democratic politics? Those people don't exist. That is a conservative bullshit talking point. Do they know that liberals and progressives aren't full-fledged Marxists? Mary, those people don't fucking exist! That's not real. You just fed me a conservative bullshit talking point that's not real. Stop listening to conservative influencers who are lying to you. Please. No, they don't. You believe they do because conservative influencers are lying to you. There is no one engaging in queer politics that supports the Democratic Party. There is not a single legitimate queer person that supports the Democratic Party. There might be people who use the terminology queer to reference gay or trans, but those people don't actually know what they're doing. That means they are not really a queer activist. They're not really a queer Marxist. They are not the ones pushing queer theory. They're not the ones pushing these ideas. They are fucking useful idiots that aren't even engaging in queer politics. That's not what we're talking about. There is not a single fucking queer activist that supports the Democratic Party. There is not a single fucking queer activist that's a liberal or a progressive. I know that because they call them neoliberals as slurs. If you continue to listen to conservative influencers, you will only confuse yourself. They are lying to you. They are confusing you. They are taking your money to lie to you. I don't know why you guys keep listening to them. We have been over this so many times. I can't even fucking stand it. We are driving off the ledge of retardia because people don't want to listen. No, you don't, Mary. No, you don't. No, you don't. No, you don't. You think you do because you are confused. I promise you, if you actually told me about the person that you think you know that is a queer Marxist involved in democratic politics, I would be able to rather easily point out to you how that person is not a real queer activist. I promise you that will be the case. Anyway, we're going back to this now.
Capacity of people to love differently in richer and fuller ways, that universal healthcare, affordable housing, universal higher education, that all of these things are in a society like the United States are really dependent on marital relations or familial relations. In a social democratic context, they're much more widely available. So hypothetically, that could really lead people to choose not to marry, or choose to organize non-traditional household arrangements, or raise children very differently. But historically, social democratic societies often involved an enormous amount of very deliberate.
So a Democrat who is into glisten, safe spaces signs isn't necessarily a queer Marxist. It depends. Mary, if they are a Democrat, they are not a queer fucking activist. Like, full stop. If they are a Democrat, they are not a queer fucking activist. There is no reality. None. And if you make me continue to repeat this, I'm going to start getting really pissed off. There is no reality in which a Democrat is a queer Marxist activists. None. No reality. So if they do stuff with Glisten, like they do a Glisten like webinar or whatever, that doesn't actually make them a queer activist. Glisten is actually a progressive organization. Glisten isn't a fully queer organization. There are queer people that sometimes are on the periphery of Glisten, but Glisten is a progressive organization. No, it's not. No, it's not. Absolutely not. And that just reflects your lack of understanding with what's going on. You're still relatively new here, and obviously you need to do a little bit more listening because, okay, pop quiz for people in my chat is what I'm not even going to answer this. I'm going to let other people in my chat answer this. For people who actually have watched queer Marxist content with me, is me saying there is no reality in which a Democrat is a queer Marxist the same thing as saying there are no gay people in the Republican Party? One in the chat. If it is the same, two in the chat, if those are two completely different things, and only people who don't understand what the fuck they're talking about would say they're the same thing. Is me saying that there's no reality in which a Democrat is a queer Marxist activist the same as saying there are no gay people in the Republican Party? One, if it is the same, two, if it's not the same. Two, queer Marxists hate the Democrats. That's exactly right. Queer Marxists hate the Democrats. Queer Marxists hate the Democrats. Queer Marxists overtly denounce the Democrats. Queer Marxists protest the Democrats. Queer Marxists constantly bash on Democrats. They bash on Democrats more than they bash on Republican. Two. We haven't seen a single one yet. Two. Democrats and queer Marxists are two different things. Two, the keyword is activist. That's what we're talking about. Does anyone have any further questions? That just came from like 24 people in my chat. Queer activists hate the neoliberal Democrats. The Republicans are not even on their radar, not even close. Mitchell says too. So no, it's not the same thing. Not the same thing at all. I'm really starting to think that you're just a troll in my chat. I'm really starting to think you're just a troll. Wouldn't you agree that there are some unconventional free spirits who label themselves queer without realizing that queer means socialist? Yes, I would agree. That's not who we're fucking talking about! Do I need to scream that again? Because this is the third time you've done this to me today. That's not who we are talking about. Is that unclear, green-eyed lady? That's not who we're talking about. Do you understand? This is the third time you've done this to me today. You did it on the earlier stream, and now you're doing it again. What is unclear? I literally said 2 minutes ago, there are some people who think queer means gay or trans, but they aren't queer Marxists. What is unclear? What was unclear about that when I said that 2 minutes ago, when you obviously weren't listening, when I reprimanded you twice earlier today for not listening. Now this is the third time, and not only is this the third time this has happened today, I literally just spoke to this less than 2 fucking minutes ago. So why are you here if you're not listening? We should be listening to this right now, and yet I'm dealing with people who aren't fucking listening. Like, I don't understand this. I literally don't understand this. All right, let's continue.
Deliberate effort to design programs in such a way to force or encourage or facilitate traditional nuclear family formations. And that was tied up with the relationship between social democratic states and the economy, that often they depended on an economic structure based on full employment.
I want everyone in the chat to start holding Green-Eyed Lady accountable to learning what she's showing up allegedly to learn, because I really am starting to think that Green-Eyed Lady is a troll. Green-Eyed Lady isn't a supporter on my Substack. She doesn't send in super chats. She just sends in these disruptive questions when, quite frankly, she's now been around long enough to know better. And just to be really clear, guys, I don't mind people asking questions. What I mind is when people show up and they ask the same questions over and over and over and over and over and over and over again that I've answered over and over and over and over and over and over and over again. And when they start showing up for months at a time and they're coming to all my streams and they are sitting through all my streams and they just keep doing this, then I have fucking questions about what the fuck they're doing here. So I would like everyone in the chat to start holding Green-Eyed Lady accountable, because I think Green-Eyed Lady is either a troll or she's not fucking listening, and I don't know what she's doing here. Yeah, this is kind of what I think. This is kind of what I think. Then you need to start listening and start doing better. This is a class. You're not even paying me to be here. This is a class. And when you come in and you ask the same question over and over and over and over and over and over and over again, and it keeps constantly distracting, and you keep doing it, and you've done it 3 times already today, at some point, we're going to call you on your bullshit. At some point, we're going to say, what the fuck are you doing here?
So they really expected massive labor market participation by householders, by men who are head of households. And then they designed social democratic programs around the people who couldn't quite fit into that, but in a way that was designed to never exceed the well-being of partnering, having a husband or a father that's working in the labor force. And so that they were designed very deliberately to encourage heterosexual nuclear family formation. And they were designed under economic conditions.
I have a question for Green-Eyed Lady specifically. Green-Eyed Lady, I would like you to explain to me the relationship between capitalism and the nuclear family. And we're going to wait for your answer. I only want Green-Eyed Lady to do this. I do not want anyone else to do this. Green-Eyed Lady, explain to me the relationship between capitalism and the nuclear family. And there's no reason why Green-Eyed Lady shouldn't be able to answer this question. You want to know why? Because I covered it on Socialism Saturday, where she was in the stream on Socialism Saturday. I've already explained it in this stream today. I explained it in the stream earlier that she was in. So I know that Green-Eyed Lady has had at least 3 opportunities in the last 3 days with which to have access to this information. What is the relationship between capitalism and the nuclear family? And we're going to wait for her answer. I feel like we're not even going to get through this full video today because of all this bullshit. What is the relationship between capitalism and the nuclear family? If we need to struggle session your ass into learning, we will damn well struggle session your ass into learning. Because I don't know why people are here if they're not learning. I don't get it. What is the relationship between capitalism and the nuclear family? We're still waiting for your answer, Green-Eyed Lady. Nope, that is not correct. That is not correct at all. The nuclear family are property owners and their means of production. That's not correct. Try again. That is not remotely the correct answer. try again. What is the relationship between capitalism and the nuclear family? Half of my chat is just waiting for the opportunity to answer this question. We're waiting for you, green-eyed lady. You've already heard me explain this twice today alone. What is the relationship between capitalism and the nuclear family? And why can't you answer this if you're listening? Why can't you answer this very basic question if you aren't just here to cause problems? What is the relationship between capitalism and the nuclear family? We're waiting. We're waiting. You're holding up the entire stream by not answering. If you don't know the answer, the very best thing you could do is just admit that you don't know the answer. What is the relationship between capitalism and the nuclear family? If you refuse to answer, I will be permanently banning you from my chat. Does anyone in my chat want to educate green-eyed lady about what the answer is? I hope this is a wake-up call for you that you start fucking listening. Because again, you've been around for months now. You've been around for months. There is no reason that you don't know the answer to this question. This is a basic 101 level question. So you're either going to start listening or we're going to remove you. The nuclear family upholds capitalism. Capitalism created the nuclear family. The nuclear family produces the next generation of proletarian workers. Capitalism created the nuclear family, and the nuclear family produces the workers that keep capitalism going. It upholds capitalism. Capitalism created the gender binary, which created the nuclear family, which produces the future workers that uphold capitalism. Capitalism is a system where your opportunities, access to healthcare, education, quality are dependent on your family of origin. That is also a correct answer. The nuclear family is the production mechanism which produces new capitalist workers. The nuclear family is a product of capitalism and upholds capitalism. The nuclear family produces capitalism according to social reproduction theory. The nuclear family is a private institution that perpetuates capitalism by putting men in the workforce and women in the home doing the unpaid labor to raise the next generation of future proletariats. The nuclear family is the means of social reproduction which upholds capitalism. The nuclear family produces the next generation of proletarian workers. I'm not asking for the sun and the moon and the stars when I ask this question. Capitalism created the gender binary, which created the nuclear family that upholds capitalism through social reproduction theory. The reason I asked my chat to answer that is I'm really not asking for the sun and the moon and the stars for people who watch my content on a regular basis to be able to answer that question. That is a 101 level question. If you do not understand that question, you have not been listening to my content. And if you're showing up to my streams every single day and you're not listening, and then you're asking questions that end up derailing the entire stream, it seems disruptive, and it seems like something that I don't really want here. So this is you better consider yourself on fucking probation, green-eyed lady, because I don't want any more bullshit in my chat. Either you're here to learn or you can go.
That increasingly around the world have deteriorated, that we've really seen a dismantling of social democratic programs in many, many countries, and an acceleration of neoliberal economic policy that I would argue is not just driven by sort of evil malice, although that's certainly part of it, but also driven by the changing global economic conditions of capital accumulation that on some level make it much harder to imagine a sort of return or winning expansion of social democracy in most places at most times. I really consider many social democratic programs to be what I call a progressive anti-family reform, But I'm also quite skeptical of the sort of social democratic path as being a viable one for most people in most places.
No, I agree with you. I can see that. I think my parents' generation is the last generation that is going to reap the benefits of that system, basically.
Yeah.
Because they were both working their entire lives and they paid into Social Security and into pension, whatever. So they're still going to get that. But no generation after, like, I cannot imagine that the people who are paying into the tax and pension Social Security systems now are ever going to see that. Because they're the ones who are supporting my parents' generation now, right? But the younger generations, because people live longer, and the retirement age, for example, in Austria hasn't really been raised that much, and people have fewer children, and people are still xenophobic, so they don't let the people who would actually
Right. That's a key part of it. Open borders would solve this question of aging populations very easily. Yeah.
I feel like I'm seeing it crumbling before my eyes.
Yeah. This is quite complex as a set of questions. You know, in the United States, there's this big effort at dismantling and attacking and privatizing Social Security. And the idea that Social Security could not possibly survive in the world is an idea actually promulgated by the right wing in the service of trying to privatize it. And I think some of these things really are worth fighting for and defending and believing that they could be preserved. But ultimately, we need a politics that goes beyond that sees a different way of challenging capitalism and meeting our material.
Ultimately, we need a different politics that goes beyond just saving Social Security, and we need a politics that goes to challenging capitalism.
Needs, you know.
When I moved to Vienna from a tiny rural town, I was really excited. And I remember this first time I went to a meeting of the...
Listen, rationalist, you're relatively new. I don't mind answering questions that I've answered before when they're from new people. Apology if you've answered this before, but could you articulate the relationship between socialism and open borders? The too long didn't read is that, well, okay, so the far left is against private property, right? What do you need? What do you need to have private property? You need a border. Like, you can't have a private property if you don't have a border. And so if the left is in favor of abolishing capitalism, which they define as private property ownership, land ownership is a form of private property. If they want to get rid of all land ownership, then that necessitates them getting rid of borders, right? They consider borders to be an enforcement mechanism of capitalism, so they want to get rid of them. What that means is that in the socialist utopia, not only won't states exist in the United States, all states will be abolished because there'll be no more borders between states. But all borders with other countries will be abolished too. All borders will be abolished. This is part of why they say they need a globalist society in order for socialism to work. The United States is just the biggest domino to fall. If they get the United States to fall, they get all other countries, right? So that's the relationship. They believe that borders are a form of private property that uphold capitalism, and we have them actually on video explicitly saying this. You can find this in my How to Speak Socialist training. We watched the videos where they say this explicitly.
The Communist Party in Vienna, and it was so disillusioning because it was all these old white men sitting around in a circle drinking beer and basically just socializing. And one, I did not fit in there. And two, I had pictured something vivid, like people with ideas, people who were passionate about something, and it wasn't that.
I want no one to give Julian attention until she cuts the bullshit. I'm not going to tell anyone what to do. You can do whatever you want. But I'm going to strongly recommend that we don't give her any more attention until she cuts the passive-aggressive bullshit.
I also realized that in Austria, the Communist Party is still what Marx called the critical utopian socialism, where the idea is, oh, if we just convince everyone that clearly our picture of a state would be better, then everyone is going to peacefully agree with us. At first, I learned that no, we're not going to peacefully convince anyone of anything, because people who are benefiting from capitalism are not going to be willing to let that go, because we make an argument that, oh, but everybody could have enough. And two, I realized at some point that state communism is not the solution either. I was 4 years old when the Iron Curtain fell. So I know a few people who grew up in the Soviet Union, and I dated someone like 10 years older than me who also grew up there. And we had conversations about that. And they were like, we didn't starve, but we were not happy.
Mm-hmm.
These ideas that I, as a very young person, had of what things could look like in a better world, I realized that none of this was feasible or possible. At some point, I just kind of walked away from all of this and did my own thing outside of the system, inside of the system, in my own way that worked.
Hang on. Still learning this myself, referring to my friend as queer and a Democrat. The reason the distinction is important is because socialists can dismiss you as a reactionary when you get these labels wrong. No, that's not why it's important. That's not why it's important at all. Listen, it does not matter what socialists refer to you as. Socialists are going to call you a fascist. They're going to call you a Nazi. They're going to call you a trans. They're going to call you... It doesn't matter in the slightest what socialists refer to you as. Socialists say you're a reactionary. So fucking what? So what? Why does that even matter? The reason the distinction matters is that if you do not understand the problem that you're fighting, then you are never going to defeat it. The reason the distinction matters is because right now, the entire fucking conservative right thinks that being queer is about being gay and trans. That's why it matters. The entire conservative right, literally the experts in queer theory, are saying this is about grooming kids to be sexualized and pedophilia, and this is about making kids drag queens. None of that is true. Literally none of that is true. So they've created a problem, and they're quote-unquote fighting the problem, but it's not the actual problem. It's not related to what is actually going on in reality. It's important to know the difference because one definition is hinged into reality and the other definition is made up by conservative influencers who are trying to make money. That's why. We will forever lose to these people until conservatives figure it out. And if they don't, we are fucked. We are fucked 19 ways from Sunday. That's why it's important.
Works for me, but isn't changing anyone's world.
And for a lot of queer and trans people, that's just essential for survival, is figuring out in a world that really facilitates and depends on private nuclear family formation and traditional wage labor and all these things, that there's so many people that don't fit into that. It's a hustle, right? We have to build networks of mutual support and care. We need to put together non-traditional forms of employment. Often, many trans people end up in criminalized activities of various sorts to survive, and that this is part of the kind of logic of racial capitalism in the private family, is the production of lots and lots of people that are excluded from it, that then have a precarious existence of various sorts.
What I really liked about both family, abolition, and everything for everyone is that you seem to just take it for granted that there's no peaceful way to get to a better world that is just for everybody.
You earlier alluded to Marx's critique of the utopian tradition, and that's one that I've been thinking and talking a lot about. In the both Everything for Everyone and Family Abolition, in different registers, different ways, are both utopian books. They're about envisioning a free society, and at the same time, I have a strong commitment to Marxism and really agree with the Marxist critique of utopianism. I think where Marx is correct is that the way you get to a just society is not by selling it as an idea, not by planning such a society and then going out and trying to convince people to implement it. So I really don't see these books as a blueprint or as a program to try to convince people of, that then people go out and implement based on that. That Marx, and this was a major political tradition in the early 19th century and late 18th century in Europe of utopian socialists. And Marx is really arguing with them. And I think he was very correct in arguing that the way that the possibility of getting beyond capitalism was created by the contradictions the capitalist society produces within itself, and the people who, due to their conditions in capitalism, have reasons to struggle, have reasons to fight, have something to fight for in their own survival and well-being, and have reasons to want to live in a different society. And whether or not they have the capacity to do so, or the political infrastructure, or the political opportunities to do so, is a different question. But that there's something in the structure of society that produces a large number of people that have reasons for things to really want to change, an imminent contradiction that can then unfold into a struggle. And that it's in the terms of that struggle itself that any future is going to be made, right? That any society beyond capitalism that we might win is only going to be won by the people in struggle together. When people are struggling, it's usually not blueprints that guide them. It's the material conditions of their lives. It's the social relations of care and solidarity in which they find themselves. And it's the political opportunities that they confront through struggle itself. So this is, I believe this very strongly, but I think many people have, Marxists and people in those traditions have taken this to mean that there's no reason to talk about the future at all, that there's no reason to talk about the world that we want to live in at all.
Well, no. That's not what that means. Teresa says that what Emmy O'Brien just says is, so when times are bad, lean on it and convince people it can be better from socialism. Teresa, the 4 goals of the woke left are always and forever the same. Gain as much power as possible, destabilize the system, attack capitalism, usher in their Marxist utopia. Things are bad because there have been deliberate efforts to destabilize society. It doesn't just like, hey guys, let's hang out and, things are going to really suck eventually. And, when those things really suck, we're going to say that, it's because of capitalism, we're going to get more people to socialism. It's not what they're doing. They're getting themselves into positions of institutional power where they are making decisions and implementing policies that fundamentally destabilize our system in which to cause problems. Their deliberate goal is to cause pain in society to make people's lives worse. When they cause pain in society to make people's lives worse, they say, hey, do you know what's to blame for all these problems that are just all of a sudden popping up out of nowhere? Like, capitalism's to blame. Capitalism caused all these problems. Of course capitalism is to blame. And then why don't we try Marxism? Because, everything sucks right now because of capitalism. That's what's going on. What Emmy O'Brien is saying is that you can't predict when the next mass revolution event will occur, but you need to participate in activism and just go with it when it happens. Well, it's like being prepared. It's like being prepared for something for when it actually happens.
And I think that that's wrong, that talking about the world that we want to live in is a way of articulating something about our desires in the present, about our critique of the conditions in which we find ourselves in the world, our difficulties in surviving in this world as it is, and our desire for something different. And that sort of imagining a freer society is something that people already do in struggle all the time. Like during the rebellions recently in the United States, the idea of Black Lives Matter, that is a utopian demand, right? And the idea of abolishing the police came up a lot, right? It's this revolutionary vision of communism in many ways. So these utopian horizons sort of emerge.
Abolishing the police facilitates a revolutionary vision of communism. Because under capitalism, the police are the enforcers of private property. That's what they believe. The police only exist to enforce private property. Under communism, the police would be abolished and all prisons would be closed, or they'd be used to just house political prisoners and not actual criminals, because they believe that if we get rid of capitalism, crime will not occur anymore because people have access to whatever they need, and all crimes are created by capitalism, so we won't need prisons anymore, etc., etc.
emerge in the course of struggle, and actually having a chance to articulate those, envision those, flesh those out can play a very powerful role in struggle in the present. So this sort of leads into your question that in the conditions of racial capitalism that the overwhelming majority of the world lives under, it's going to take a revolutionary struggle, probably one that involves a great deal of violence in order to get to a just society.
Oh,
and probably
Emmy O'Brien admitting it's going to require violent overthrow of society. I've never heard her actually admit this. Again?
racial capitalism that the overwhelming majority of the world lives under, it's going to take a revolutionary struggle, probably one that involves a great deal of violence in order to get to a just society.
It's going to take a revolutionary struggle, probably one that involves a great deal of violence, in order to get to a just society. A just society means a society based on equity in which everyone has access to whatever they need. Equity is code for Marxism. That's what that means. She's using the term racial capitalism incorrectly, Tate, and I wouldn't really read too much into that. So if they succeed, what will be their plan? Their plan is Marxism. That's what their plan is. Their plan is Marxism. Did they just cut out the violent perpetual revolutionary part of socialism? I mean, that doesn't even make sense. Their plan is Marxism.
And probably the opportunities for that kind of revolutionary struggle are not going to easily emerge without the further intensification of the many crises that exist around the world, of ecological crisis, political crisis, economic crisis. I'm not one that thinks that leftists or radicals should encourage crisis, that, the costs on poor people and people of color in these many crises are really extremely high, but that the world's going to produce them. That capitalism is a crisis machine, and these crises are going to intensify and escalate.
See, guys, we're not causing the problems. We would never be the ones to cause the problems. I would never encourage in causing the problems, because capitalism is a crisis machine. All the crises that we're experiencing in society are the result of capitalism. We would never do anything to cause these crises. It's just a result of the capitalist society. Do you guys see how this works?
And the basis to
Michelle, let me listen to that one more time.
Political crisis, economic crisis. I'm not one that thinks that leftists or radicals should encourage crisis, that, the costs on poor people and people of color in these many crises are really extremely high, but that the world's going to produce them. That capitalism is a crisis machine, and these crises are going to intensify and escalate. And the basis to stabilize them, I think, is really gone in the world. And then we're going to see the rise of various kinds of fascisms and nationalisms. We're going to see the massive growth of ecological refugees. And we're going to see more and more sectors of society that the capitalist economy is not meaningfully able to take care of or protect. And that there will be many opportunities in the coming decades for revolutionary struggles to emerge and fight and potentially win, that regardless of what we do about it, but that those movements, in order for them to exist and fight and win, that really takes our willingness to organize together in the present.
What the fuck does this even mean? Do you know what we're doing here right now? Do you have any idea where you are? What does this mean? Why would you put this in my chat? Do you understand what we're doing here? Are you stupid enough to think that we're all socialists? Is that what you think? We're waiting for you to explain yourself. What do you think is actually going on right now? Let's see. This is an IQ test, bro. We're seeing if you pass the IQ test. We're not talking about history. We're talking about what's going on right now. That's part of the IQ test. Can you figure out that we're not talking about history? We're talking about what's going on right now. So why would you put this in my chat? We're waiting. We're waiting. We're waiting for your answer. The entire stream is being held up for you. You obviously wanted attention. Now we're giving you attention. We're waiting. Is he still in the chat? Yep, he's still here. We're waiting. What do you think is actually going on right now? No. Nope. I will make an example of people if I feel like making an example of people. We're still waiting for your answer, Eagle Mad Hatter. What do you think is going on here? Are you smart enough to be here? You have 10 more seconds to reply or I'm permanently banning you in my chat. What do you think is going on here? 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Too bad, bro. You're permanently banned in my chat. You failed the IQ test. You're not smart enough to be here. Go away.
Are building relationships of solidarity with each other now, are beginning to develop the kinds of movements and organizations and campaigns that could lay the foundation for a broader revolutionary movement. And there is a convincing that needs to happen, but usually that convincing is in the immediate context of struggle. When we're talking with a coworker about a union or a strike, when we're talking with our neighbor about a tenant campaign, when we're talking with people in queer and trans social networks about the need to like build out more infrastructure and supporting more marginal members of the community, that these are debates and discussions that need to happen in the fabric of our lives towards building movement and struggle and solidarity together.
Is that the reason that you see queer and trans people at the forefront of a revolution? Because it's often the most marginalized communities who see themselves almost forced to struggle and become radicalized.
I certainly think that's a very important part of it.
Oh!
Like, right.
Oh, Leonardo got suspended? Oh, I'm so sad for her. I'm so sad that Leonardo got suspended on X. This is a real tragedy. This is a real tragedy. I don't know how we'll ever survive. Yeah, karma's a bitch, isn't it? Karma is a bitch. Karma is a bitch. However will we make it through this tragedy of Leonardo's Twitter account getting suspended? Leonardo has literally been sent to the woods. She's literally been sent to the woods. We're playing a small violin. Twitter has sent Leonardo to the woods. Don't worry about it. If you don't know who Leonardo is, it really doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. You want to know why? Because Twitter just sent her ass to the woods. And you know, we don't have to do it, even though she has a backup account. And we know she has a backup account because she specifically used it to try to insult me after I blocked her main account, because that's how triggered she was. But that's just too bad. That's just too bad. Too bad, so sad.
Right now, trans people face intense marginalization in many, many sectors of society. And trans people are grossly overrepresented in the United States in every major movement of the last 15 years. That trans people have played central leadership roles in struggles around Black Lives.
We're not even going to be able to finish this today because of all the back and forth in the chat. Can someone tell me their thing with trans people? Because I get the marginalized thing being revolutionaries, but it seems more like non-binary queer theorists are doing this over trans people. There are different types of trans people in the world. There are trans people who just want to transition and live as a man or a woman or a man. So here's the thing. Let me explain this better. Because we're not going to be able to finish this video today, which kind of sucks, but like whatever. You have to differentiate between trans people. There are trans people who want to transition their gender to go from a man to a woman or a woman to a man. And they literally just want to do that to be able to exist in the world in a way where they feel comfortable. They're not bothering anyone. They're not forcing it on kids. They're literally just doing it for themselves because it makes them feel better. It helps treat a mental illness that they have. Those are traditional trans people, with which trans means transition. When queer Marxists say the term trans, they do not mean transition. They mean transform or transcend. To transform the gender binary, to transcend the gender binary. They don't want the gender binary to exist. So if a person is transitioning from a man to woman or woman to man, that upholds the gender binary. That's not it. That's not what queer is about. Queer wants to abolish the gender binary. That is what the purpose of it is. And so if they're not identifying as non-binary or some sort of weird pronouns, then that is not a queer person. And no, this isn't actually as prevalent as people think. I'm sorry, like, this is a thing, but it's also, this is a bullshit conservative talking point. That maybe it's like one of those things where, like, it's a nugget of truth, but conservatives cover it in so much bullshit. This is not the majority. It's just not. Maybe onesies and twosies, but it's just not the majority. I'm sorry. It's just not. It's not relevant to the bigger picture. Well, but what we're telling you is this thing that you put in the chat is not actually relevant to what we're talking about. That's what we're trying to explain to you. There might be a tiny percentage, but it's not relevant in the grand scheme of things. It is not relevant to the bigger picture. It's just not. That's what we're trying to explain to you. All right, guys. Okay. I appreciate you answering my question and tolerating my stupid questions. I have not explored social transgender connection much. Listen, they're not stupid questions. They're not stupid questions. Again, I feel like you've been in my, you're giving me money, so I'm not going to complain about that. But, like, I feel like you've been in my chat long enough, so you probably should know some of this stuff. But, like, I don't mind answering questions when they're asked in good faith. What I mind is when people are doing it to be disruptive. That's what I mind. The trans kid thing is my issue. The fact that they don't care about the potential harm. Okay, but that's not... That's not really what we're talking about. Ian Malcolm is crying on Twitter asking Daddy Elon to reinstate Leonardo. Like that really should have been my first warning signal about Ian Malcolm, is that he thinks Leonardo is a smart and good person. The way he set you up the other day brought him some bad karma for sure. Yep. 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 Anyway, guys, I think we're going to cut it there. We're not going to get through this video, which is kind of annoying, to be honest. Because I had hoped to get through this video today. We had more than enough time to get through the video today, but we also had a lot going on in the chat, and so we did not get through the video today. But what we do have going on in about 10 minutes time is a community Zoom call over on my Substack, which is Carlin K. Well, you can find access to it over on the Substack, which is carlinkarlyn.substack.com. How you get access to it is by going to the Unwoke Roundup email that I sent out early this morning, and you scroll all the way down to the bottom. And underneath this red box, you're going to find a variety of things, to include links to the Zoom calls that we do on Monday and Wednesday. There is also a Bitchcraft this weekend coming up on Saturday at 3 p.m. It's just an excuse me, an open Zoom call to bitch while we craft. You can come and hang out in that. Yep, we are doing the debate live tomorrow night. Jennifer and I will be doing the debate. We will have a stream before that. And so anyway, so we're going to round out the stream today. If you want to come and join on the Zoom call, you can also find it in the locals community if you're a supporter over there. I do appreciate it. It's cool, man. You're still relatively new, so it's cool. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Like again, I don't mind questions and comments from people who are relatively new. It's the people who've watched me for a while and just keep asking the same thing over and over again that I start to get pissed off at, because I do. because I've said the same thing over and over. Like, for people who might be new, I literally repeat myself every single day, multiple times a day. I say the, oh, wait. This is more important than me repeating myself. Leonardo's backup account got yeeted too? Seriously? Is this my birthday? Is this my birthday and Christmas and Halloween and Valentine's Day all rolled into one? Is this my birthday? What is going on right now? Leonardo's first, primary account and backup account both got suspended. I didn't realize the backup account also got suspended. That's just, it's a tragedy. It's a tragedy is what that is. It's a tragedy, and all of her accounts got suspended. It is 3 accounts. It's my 29th birthday, and it's Christmas, and it's Valentine's Day, and my anniversary, and Halloween, which is my favorite holiday. It is every good thing all rolled into one. I mean, yeah. What did she do? I know, we are all like, let's all, this is a tragedy. We all need to send Leonardo thoughts and prayers for this tragedy of her getting all of her fucking Twitter accounts suspended. It really is, it's a shame, and it's censorship is wrong, and we really should embrace free speech absolutism, but I'm just not, this is a somber moment, and it is a tragedy. And I'm sure I'm gonna get blamed for this somehow. And am I actually gonna get blamed for this somehow? Yeah, probably. Probably am. I am probably gonna get blamed for this somehow when I didn't even know what happened. All right, well, I will see you guys in a couple minutes for the Zoom call, and we will continue Queer Marxism Week, and I'm going to post a bunch of stuff on the Substack, and yeah. Anyway, I promised last week I owe you guys a play out for the James Lindsay song. So I'll do a play out. I forgot to do this last week, and I apologize because I was in a bad mood. So I will play you out today with the James Lindsay song. And I will see, this is called Gnostic Sex Cult. You can find this song on Spotify and Apple Music if you want. Just look for Gnostic Sex Cult. And I'll see you guys tomorrow or on the Zoom call in a little bit. Take care. We'll see you soon. Bye.
James Lindsay is obsessed with lying to his audience. Well, crazy things can he get them to believe? He does it irresponsibly. Pocket all that money from the mills for liberty. The left hates capitalism, but James won't admit it. He refuses to believe queer theory destabilizes normativity, gender binary, and the nuclear family. James blocks the truth, smears people who try to show him, creates an echo chamber for himself to reinforce his fantasy. He used to believe in something, what happened? Mills for liberty. Gnostic sex cult, building his own world. A Gnostic sex cult, unhinged from reality, totally lost in what can we do? But mock him relentlessly. It's not a Gnostic sex cult, James. No, it's not. Stop lying to your audience. No, it's not. It's not a Gnostic change. Mary Nardini tells us queer liberation means the annihilation of capitalism. Catch up, James. Whiteness means capitalism. Queer theory hates capitalism. Whiteness means capitalism. Queer theory hates capitalism. Whiteness means capitalism. It's all about capitalism. Everyone knows it's capitalism. The socialist knows capitalism. Wake up, James. It's capitalism. Whoa. The socialists know it's capitalism. Wake up, James. It's capitalism. It's all about capitalism. Everyone knows it's capitalism. The socialists know it's capitalism. Wake up, James. It's capitalism. It's capitalism. To pocket all that money from the mills for liberty. The left hates capitalism, but James won't admit it. He refuses to believe queer theory stabilizes normativity, the gender binary and the nuclear family. But James blocks the truth, smears people who try to show him, creates an echo chamber for himself to reinforce his fantasy. Is to believe in something. What happens for liberty? Gnostic sex called Billyism world. Gnostic sex called unhinged from reality. He's totally lost it. What can we do but mock him relentlessly?